The espresso machine hisses at 6 a.m., and Aaliyah Brooks winces as she reaches for a ceramic cup. A sharp, stinging pain shoots through her shoulder. A reminder of last night, of Andre's grip, of the argument that ended with her body pressed against the kitchen counter. She adjusts her uniform strap carefully, making sure the dark purple bruise stays hidden beneath black fabric. 3 days until rent is due. 3 days to keep her head down, keep smiling, keep surviving in a home that isn't safe. The cafe fills with the morning rush and she plasters on her professional mask. No one can know. No one can see. She can just make it through today. Then he walks in. Seo Jun-hyuk. The man they call the Dragon. 6 feet of tailored menace in a black suit that costs more than her yearly salary. He's been coming here for months. Same time, same order, same unreadable expression. But today is different. Today his dark eyes track her movements with surgical precision. He notices the tremor in her hands. The way she flinches when a male customer reaches across the counter. The careful way she keeps her left shoulder angled away from view. When she sets his espresso down, their usual silent exchange shatters. He doesn't pick up the cup. Instead, his hand moves across the marble counter. Slow, deliberate, and his fingers catch the edge of her collar. One gentle pull and the bruise is exposed. Who touched you? 3 words. Spoken soft as silk. Sharp as a blade. The entire cafe seems to hold its breath. Aaliyah's world tilts. Because the most dangerous man in Seoul isn't asking out of curiosity. He's asking because someone is about to pay. Seo Jun-hyuk had built an empire on observation. He knew which of his men would betray him before they even considered it. He knew when a business deal would sour 3 moves before it collapsed. He knew the exact moment fear turned into desperation and desperation into stupidity. Reading people wasn't a skill, it was survival. And in his world the ones who didn't watch carefully were the ones who died. So he noticed her. The barista with the careful smile and exhausted eyes. She'd been working here for 4 months and Jun-hyuk had watched her the way he watched everything. With cold, clinical precision. At first she was just part of the routine. The girl who made his espresso exactly right, who never asked questions, who moved through the morning chaos with the quiet efficiency he appreciated. But 3 weeks ago something changed. It started with her hands. They began to shake when she poured the milk, just slightly. A tremor she tried to hide by gripping the pitcher tighter. Then came the flinching. A businessman reached across the counter to grab extra sugar, and she jerked back like he'd struck her. She recovered quickly, laughing it off, but Jun-hyuk saw the flash of panic in her eyes. He said nothing. He never did. He simply watched. Yesterday she'd avoided looking at a male customer entirely, keeping her gaze fixed on the register as she took his order. The man, some mid-level executive in an expensive watch, had tried to flirt with her. She'd gone rigid, her smile frozen in place, her body angled away like she was preparing to run. Jun-hyuk had memorized the executive's face. Just in case. Today she was worse. The cafe hummed with the usual morning energy. Businessmen shouting into phones, students hunched over laptops, the constant hiss and grind of the espresso machines. But Jun-hyuk only heard the sharp intake of breath when she lifted the coffee pot. Only saw the way her left shoulder remained stiff, unmoving, like any pressure would shatter her. He thought she was hiding it well. The uniform covered most of her skin. Her smile stayed professional. Her voice remained steady as she took orders and made small talk. But Jun-hyuk had spent 15 years learning to see what people tried to hide. Someone had hurt her. Recently. Badly enough that she was still moving like her body was a wound. He sat in his usual corner, untouched espresso cooling on the table and catalogued every detail. The purple shadow just barely visible beneath her collar when she turned. The way she kept her back to the wall whenever possible. The exhaustion carved into her face that had nothing to do with a long shift. A man in a business suit approached the counter too quickly and she flinched, actually flinched before catching herself. Jun-hyuk's jaw tightened. In his world, people who hurt the innocent didn't last long. They were dealt with quietly, efficiently, and permanently. It was a rule he'd built his reputation on. Touch the defenseless and the dragon would find you. His phone buzzed. A message from his second-in-command about a shipment. He ignored it. Because the barista with the hidden bruise had just dropped a cup, and the sound of shattering ceramic made her freeze like she expected to be punished for it. And Seo Jun-hyuk decided that whoever put that fear in her eyes was already a dead man walking. The cup shatters and Aaliyah's entire body locks up. It's just ceramic. Just an accident. The kind of thing that happens 100 times a day in a busy cafe. But her hands are shaking so badly now that she can't seem to make them stop, and all she can think about is Andre's voice last night. You're so fucking clumsy, you can't do anything right, and the way his fingers dug into her shoulder hard enough to leave marks. I'm sorry, she whispers to no one, dropping to her knees to collect the pieces. I'm so sorry. Her manager waves her off, irritated but not cruel. Just clean it up and get back to work. She nods, scooping shards into her palm, and that's when her uniform strap slips. It's the reaching. The awkward angle. The way her shoulder screams in protest as she stretches for a piece near the counter base. The fabric slides down just enough. 2 inches, maybe 3, but it's enough. Enough for the bruise to show. Dark purple. Almost black at the center. Finger-shaped marks pressed into brown skin like a brand. She realizes at the same moment he does. Aaliyah's eyes snap up and she finds Seo Joon-hyuk standing at the counter, his espresso abandoned. He's staring at her shoulder with an expression she's never seen on his face before. Not anger. Not quite. Something colder. Something that makes the air in the cafe feel thin. She yanks her strap back up, heat flooding her cheeks. It's nothing. I just... Come here. His voice is quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that makes everyone within earshot stop talking. Aaliyah stands slowly, still clutching ceramic shards, her heart hammering against her ribs. She should refuse. Should make an excuse and disappear into the back room. But there's something in his eyes, something dark and unshakable, that makes her feet move before her brain catches up. She stops on her side of the counter. He's on the other. The marble barrier between them suddenly feels meaningless. Joon-hyuk's gaze hasn't left her shoulder. Show me. Mr. Seo, I really... His hand moves across the counter. Slow, deliberate, like he's approaching something fragile that might bolt. His fingers catch the edge of her collar and every instinct screams at her to pull away. But she doesn't. Can't. Because the way he's looking at her isn't predatory. It's protective. He pulls the fabric down gently, exposing the full bruise. His jaw tightens. A muscle in his cheek twitches. For 3 seconds he doesn't move. Doesn't breathe. Just stares at the evidence of someone else's violence on her skin. When he finally speaks, his voice is silk over steel. Who touched you? The cafe has gone completely silent. Aaliyah can feel eyes on them. Customers, co-workers, her manager frozen near the espresso machine. But all she sees is Joon-hyuk, and the carefully controlled fury radiating off him like heat. It's not. Her voice cracks. It was an accident. No. One word. Absolute. It wasn't. Her throat closes. Because he's right. And because no one, not her friends, not her co-workers, not the neighbors who definitely hear the fights through the walls, has ever called it what it is. Tell me his name. It's not a request. Aaliyah's hands are shaking again, still full of broken ceramic. She should lie. Should protect Andre, protect herself, protect whatever fragile stability she's managed to cling to. But something in Joon-hyuk's eyes makes her feel like the truth might not destroy her this time. My boyfriend, she whispers. Andre. The temperature in the room drops 10 degrees. Joon-hyuk releases her collar carefully, almost gently, and steps back. But his eyes, God, his eyes have gone absolutely black. When he speaks again, it's not to her. Close the cafe. Her manager stammers. Sir, we can't just. I said close it. Joon-hyuk pulls out his phone, already dialing. Everyone out. Now. And because he's Seo Joon-hyuk, because his name carries weight that transcends normal authority, people start moving. Aaliyah stands frozen behind the counter, still holding pieces of a broken cup, while the most dangerous man in Seoul makes a call that will change everything. Find Andre, he says into the phone, voice dead calm. I want him in front of me by midnight. Then his eyes find hers again and something in them softens. Just barely. You're done running, he tells her. Starting now. Aaliyah shouldn't have gone home. She knows at the moment she turns her key in the lock and feels the resistance. The door is already unlocked. Andre is inside. Waiting. Her manager had sent her home early after Joon-hyuk cleared the cafe. Take the day, he'd said, looking pale and shaken. Just, take the day. She'd wanted to argue, wanted to explain that she needed the hours, needed the money, needed the distraction. But the way everyone was staring at her, at the bruise Joon-hyuk had exposed, made her feel like her skin was transparent. So she'd come back to the one place that's somehow worse than public humiliation. She pushes the door open slowly. The apartment is dark except for the blue glow of the television. Andre sits on the couch, still in his gym clothes, a beer bottle dangling from his fingers. He doesn't look at her when she enters. That's how she knows it's bad. You're home early. His voice is flat, controlled. The kind of calm that comes before the storm. Aaliyah sets her bag down carefully, quietly, like any sudden movement might detonate something. They sent me home. Slow day. Slow day. He repeats it like he's tasting the words, testing them for lies. Then he takes a long drink of his beer and finally, turns to look at her. Funny. Because I got a very interesting phone call about an hour ago. Her blood turns to ice. My boy Marcus was getting coffee. Said some Korean guy in a fancy suit shut down the whole cafe. Made everybody leave. Andre stands and Aaliyah's body automatically shifts toward the door. He notices. His jaw tightens. Said this guy was real interested in you. Had his hands on you even. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like, Aaliyah? He's moving closer now, backing her against the wall near the entrance. Because from where I'm standing, it sounds like you've been making a fool of me. Flirting with customers. Letting men put their hands on you. He saw the bruise. The words tumble out before she can stop them. He saw what you did to me and he... The backhand comes fast. Not hard enough to knock her down but enough to snap her head to the side, enough to make her taste copper. Andre's face is inches from hers now, his breath hot and sour with beer. What I did. His voice drops to a whisper and somehow that's more terrifying than the yelling. Baby, you made me do that. You know you did. Coming home late, not answering your phone, making me worry. I love you and you push me until I lose control. Aaliyah's cheek throbs. Her eyes burn with tears she won't let fall. Because she's heard this script before. So many times that she almost believes it. Almost. I'm sorry, she whispers because it's easier than fighting. Andre's hand is raised when the door explodes inward. Not literally. No splintering wood or dramatic crash. Just the lock clicking open. Picked in under 3 seconds. And then 3 men in black suits fill her tiny apartment like shadows given form. Andre spins around, his hand dropping from where it was aimed at Aaliyah's face. What the fuck? The lead man, tall, expressionless, with a scar running through his left eyebrow, doesn't speak. He just moves. Fast. Professional. Andre doesn't even get his hands up before he's face down on the floor, arm twisted behind his back at an angle that makes him scream. Wait, I didn't do anything. Get off me. Aaliyah presses herself against the wall, heart hammering so hard she thinks it might break through her ribs. This is real. This is actually happening. She'd thought, hoped, that Jun Hyuk's phone call was just posturing. Rich man theatrics. Something that would blow over. He was wrong. The other 2 men move through the apartment with clinical efficiency, checking rooms, securing exits. One of them stops in front of her and she recognizes him. He's been at the cafe before, always 3 steps behind Jun Hyuk, always watching. Miss Brooks. His voice is polite, almost gentle. Are you injured? She can't make her mouth work. Can't process the scene in front of her. Andre cursing and struggling on the floor, strange men in her home, the reality that her life just broke open like dropped glass. Answer him. The new voice comes from the doorway and Aaliyah's breath stops completely. Seo Jun Hyuk steps into her apartment, and the space immediately feels smaller. Too small. Like his presence consumes all the available oxygen. He's changed since this morning. Different suit, darker, more expensive. But his eyes are the same. Cold, focused, dangerous. They sweep over her, cataloging, assessing, and stop on her cheek. The fresh red mark from Andre's hand. Something in his expression shifts. Not anger. Worse. Like he's made a decision and God help anyone who tries to stop him. Get him out of here, Jun Hyuk says quietly. Andre's eyes go wide. Wait, you can't just, I know my rights. I'll call the cops. The man with the scar leans down, whispers something in Andre's ear that makes all the color drain from his face. Then they're hauling him up, dragging him toward the door. Andre tries to look back at Aaliyah, tries to say something but they're already gone. Just like that. The apartment falls silent except for Aaliyah's ragged breathing. Jun Hyuk hasn't moved from the doorway. He's watching her with that same unreadable expression, like he's waiting for something. For her to scream maybe. To thank him. To fall apart. I didn't ask you to do this, Aaliyah whispers. I know. You had no right. I know that too. He takes one step forward. Just one. But I'm not leaving you here. Not after what I saw. Not after. His jaw tightens. Not after he put his hands on you again. Aaliyah's legs feel weak. She slides down the wall until she's sitting on the floor, knees pulled to her chest. What did you do to him? Nothing yet. Jun Hyuk crouches in front of her, close enough that she can see the gold flecks in his dark eyes. But he won't touch you again. Ever. I promise you that. I can't just leave. My apartment, my job, my life. Your life was killing you. His voice is soft now. Almost kind. Let me give you a different one. He stands, extends his hand. An offer. A choice. Aaliyah stares at his palm, broad, scarred, capable of terrible things. Behind him, through the open door, she can see the black sedan waiting. An escape route. A different prison maybe, but at least one without bruises. She takes his hand. Jun Hyuk pulls her to her feet, and when her legs buckle, he doesn't hesitate. He lifts her, one arm under her knees, one behind her back, like she weighs nothing at all. I've got you, he murmurs against her hair. And for the first time in 2 years, Aaliyah believes someone actually might. I know you are. Andre's hand comes up, she flinches, but he just tucks her hair behind her ear. Gentle now. Like he wasn't just hurting her. But you need to understand something. That rich boy at the cafe? He doesn't care about you. Not really. Men like that, they see girls like you as toys. Something to play with and throw away. His fingers trail down to her shoulder, pressing against the bruise. She gasps. I'm the only one who actually loves you, he says. The only one who'll put up with your shit. So whatever fantasy you're building in your head about some knight in shining armor, let it go. Because you're not going anywhere. He kisses her forehead and Aaliyah closes her eyes. Outside, a black sedan pulls up to the curb. Aaliyah wakes to silk. Not the rough polyester sheets from her apartment, but actual silk, cool and impossibly soft against her skin. For a disoriented moment, she thinks she's dreaming. Then the memories slam back. Andre's hand raised. The door bursting open. Jun Hyuk carrying her out of her apartment and into a car that smelled like leather and expensive cologne. She'd fallen asleep somewhere on the highway, exhausted and shock-numb, her cheek pressed against his chest. Now she's in a bed the size of her entire bedroom, surrounded by walls painted the color of cream. Morning light filters through floor-to-ceiling windows, and when she sits up, wincing at the pain in her shoulder, she can see gardens. Actual gardens with stone paths and sculpted hedges and a fountain that looks like it belongs in a museum. This isn't a house. It's an estate. Panic rises in her throat. Because she knows what this is. What it has to be. Men like Jun Hyuk don't rescue women out of kindness. They collect them. Own them. She's traded one cage for another. This one just has better furniture. The door opens and a woman in her 50s enters carrying a tray. She's dressed simply but elegantly, her gray hair pulled into a neat bun. Good morning, Miss Brooks. Her voice is warm, accented. I'm Mrs. Chin, the head housekeeper. Mr. Seo asked me to bring you breakfast and show you around when you're ready. Aaliyah pulls the silk sheets higher. Where is he? Attending to business. He'll return this evening. Mrs. Chin sets the tray on the bedside table. Fruit, pastries, tea that smells like jasmine. He wanted you to rest. You've been through quite an ordeal. I need to leave. Mrs. Chen's expression softens. You're not a prisoner here, dear. You're a guest. Mr. Seo was very clear about that. She moves to the closet, opens it to reveal clothes in Aaliyah's size. New clothes. Expensive clothes. He thought you might be more comfortable in something fresh. Take your time. I'll be just outside if you need anything. She leaves before Aaliyah can respond. An hour later, showered, dressed in jeans and a sweater that probably cost more than her rent, still terrified but also starving, Aaliyah lets Mrs. Chin lead her through the estate. It's overwhelming. Marble floors. Original artwork on every wall. Rooms that serve purposes she can't even identify. Then Mrs. Chin opens a door on the second floor and Aaliyah's breath catches. It's a studio. A real artist studio with north-facing windows and perfect natural light. Easels arranged near the glass. A work table covered in supplies. Paints, brushes, canvases still in their packaging. Shelves stocked with every medium she's ever dreamed of working with and a dozen she's only read about. Mr. Shou had this prepared yesterday, Mrs. Chen says quietly. After he looked into your background and learned about your art. He thought you might want a space to work. Aaliyah walks to the nearest easel like she's in a trance. Her fingers trail over the smooth wood, touch a tube of cadmium red that costs more than she makes in a week. I don't understand. He doesn't expect anything from you, Miss Brooks. No obligations. No debts. Mrs. Chen moves toward the door. He just wants you to have what was taken from you. Time, safety, the ability to create without fear. Why? Aaliyah's voice cracks. Why would he do this? Mrs. Chen pauses in the doorway and something knowing passes across her face. I've worked for Mr. Shou for 15 years. I've seen him make men disappear. I've watched him build an empire on fear and calculated violence. But I've never, not once, seen him look at someone the way he looked at you when he carried you through that door. She leaves Aaliyah alone in a room full of light and possibility. And for the first time since she can remember, Aaliyah sits down in front of a blank canvas without her hands shaking. Aaliyah has been in the estate for 5 days when Jun Hyuk finally sits for her. He doesn't ask, doesn't demand. He simply appears in the doorway of her studio one evening, still in his suit, and says, "Paint me." She should refuse. Should maintain whatever distance she can between herself and the man who's holding her life in his hands. But she's been sketching him from memory for 3 days, trying to capture the contradiction of him, the way violence and control somehow make him beautiful. And her fingers itch to get it right. Sit by the window, she tells him. He obeys without question, and that surprises her. Men like Jun Hyuk don't take orders. But he settles into the chair she indicates, afternoon light cutting across his face, and waits. Aaliyah sets up her canvas, squeezes paint onto her palette, and tries to ignore the way her heart is racing. She's painted hundreds of portraits. This shouldn't be different. But it is. Because when she looks at him, really looks, she sees things she's been trying not to notice. The exhaustion carved into the lines around his eyes. The way his shoulders hold tension like armor. The loneliness that radiates off him despite all his power. You're staring, he says quietly. I'm studying. She mixes burnt umber with ivory black, searching for the exact shade of his eyes. That's what artists do. And what do you see? The question hangs between them, heavy with meaning. Aaliyah loads her brush, makes the first stroke. You want the truth or the polite version? I've never known you to be polite. Fair point. She works in silence for a moment, building the structure of his face. I see someone who's forgotten how to rest. Who's carrying weight that's breaking him, but he's too proud to set it down. Jun Hyuk's expression doesn't change, but something flickers in his eyes. Anything else? You're lonely. The words come out softer than she intends. Surrounded by people who fear you, respect you, obey you. But no one who actually sees you. The silence that follows is different. Tarch. And you see me? His voice has dropped lower, intimate in a way that makes her hands unsteady. Aaliyah meets his gaze across the canvas. I see a man who noticed a bruise on a stranger's shoulder and couldn't walk away. Who gave me a studio instead of a cage. Who sits perfectly still so I can paint him even though he probably has a dozen more important things to do. Nothing is more important than this. The certainty in his voice makes her breath catch. She forces herself to look back at the canvas, to focus on the curve of his jaw, the set of his mouth. But she can feel his eyes on her, tracking every movement, every breath. You flinch less now, he observes after a while. When I move. She does. She's noticed it too. The way her body no longer prepares for impact when he enters a room. You've never given me a reason to be afraid. Most people are afraid of me without reason. Most people don't matter to you. Aaliyah adds shadow to his cheekbone and the painting starts to come alive. I do. Don't I? Jun Hyuk stands abruptly, crosses the space between them in 3 strides. He stops just short of touching her, close enough that she can smell his cologne, cedar and something darker. His hand comes up slowly, giving her time to pull away, and brushes paint from her cheek. You matter more than anything, he says, voice rough. And that terrifies me. His thumb traces her jaw, gentle, reverent, nothing like Andre's hands, and Aaliyah feels something crack open in her chest. Something that's been locked away for so long she'd forgotten it existed. What? Not fear. Not obligation. Just pure aching want. Jun Hyuk. Tell me to leave. His forehead drops to hers. Tell me this is too much too fast and I'll walk away. She should. God, she should. But instead she tilts her face up, closes the distance between them and kisses him. Soft. Careful. A question neither of them knows how to answer yet. When they break apart, Junhyuk's control is visibly fraying. I should finish your portrait, Aaliyah whispers. Later. His hand slides into her hair. Right now I just want to be seen. So she lets him stay and they stand in a room full of light while the rest of the world fades away. Aaliyah is mixing paint when Mrs. Chin appears in the studio doorway, her usual calm replaced by something tighter. Miss Brooks, Mr. Seo needs to see you. It's urgent. The word urgent in Junhyuk's world carries weight. Aaliyah sets down her palette and follows Mrs. Chin through the estate, her stomach knotting with each step. She finds him in his office, a room she's never entered before, all dark wood and leather and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the grounds. He's on the phone, his back to her, speaking in rapid Korean. His tone is clipped. Dangerous. When he turns and sees her, his expression shifts, the hard edges softening just slightly. He ends the call. Sit. She does, perching on the edge of a leather chair. What's wrong? Junhyuk leans against his desk, arms crossed. For a moment he just studies her like he's calculating how much to say. Andre showed up at the cafe this morning. Ice floods Aaliyah's veins. What? He didn't go inside. But he left a message with your former manager. Junhyuk's jaw tightens. He wants money. $50,000 or he goes to the police. Claims I kidnapped you. That you're being held against your will. The room tilts. That's insane. I left with you. I chose. I know what you chose. His voice is steady, grounding. But he's desperate. Cornered. And desperate men do stupid things. He pulls out his phone, shows her a photo. Andre outside the cafe, looking thin and manic, a bruise on his own face that definitely wasn't there before. My men have been watching him. He's burned through his savings. Lost his job. He thinks you're his ticket back to stability. Aaliyah's hands clench in her lap. What are you going to do? The question hangs between them, loaded with implication. Because she knows what Junhyuk is capable of. She's seen the way men scatter when he enters a room, heard the whispered stories about people who crossed him and simply disappeared. That depends on you, he says quietly. She looks up, surprised. On me. Junhyuk moves closer, crouches in front of her chair so they're eye level. I can make him disappear. Permanently. It would be easy. Clean. He'd never threaten you again. His hand covers hers, warm and solid. But I need to know that's what you want. Because I won't use my power to make decisions for you. Not anymore. Not about this. Aaliyah's throat tightens. A month ago, hell 2 weeks ago, she would have been terrified of this conversation. But now she sees it for what it is. He's not threatening her. He's asking permission. Giving her control in a situation where she's had none for years. I don't want him dead, she whispers. I just want him gone. Permanently gone. Junhyuk nods slowly. Then that's what you'll get. He stands, makes another call, this time in English so she can understand every word. Min. The cafe situation I wanted handled cleanly. No violence unless necessary. Get him on tape admitting to the blackmail, then give him a choice. Leave the country within 48 hours or I press charges and make sure every second of what he did to her comes out in court. Graphic detail. Public record. He pauses, listening. Yes, I'm aware extortion is illegal. That's exactly the point. Min. Make sure he understands that if he ever comes back, if he ever even thinks her name again, I won't be this generous a second time. He ends the call and turns back to Aaliyah. It's done. He'll be gone by Sunday. Aaliyah stands on shaking legs. Why give me the choice? You could have just handled it. Because you've had enough men making choices for you. Junhyuk's hand cups her face, thumb brushing her cheekbone. My power is yours to use, Aaliyah. Not to control you. Never to control you. She kisses him then, fierce and grateful and full of something that feels dangerously close to love. When they break apart, Junhyuk's eyes have gone dark with want, but his voice stays gentle. You're safe now, he murmurs. I promise you that. And for the first time in years, Aaliyah actually believes it. 3 weeks after Andre disappears from her life, Junhyuk places an envelope on her easel. Aaliyah is working on a new piece. Abstract this time, all bold color and emotion. when she notices him standing in the doorway of her studio. He's dressed down today, just black slacks and a white shirt with the sleeves rolled up. Domestic. Almost normal if you ignore the way he carries himself like a loaded weapon. "What's this?" she asks, wiping paint from her hands. "Open it." She does. Inside is a plane ticket. First class. Destination blank. One of those open-ended tickets that can go anywhere. Beneath it, a credit card with her name embossed in silver, and a letter from a bank confirming an account in her name. The balance makes her hands shake. $250,000. "I don't understand." Her voice comes out small. Jun Hyuk steps into the studio, hands in his pockets. His expression is carefully neutral, but she's learned to read the tension in his shoulders. "You've been here almost a month. Long enough to heal. To catch your breath." He pauses. "Long enough to realize you might want something different than this." "Then what?" "Then me. This life. This world." He gestures vaguely at the estate beyond the windows. "I told you that you weren't a prisoner. I meant it. That ticket can take you anywhere. Paris, Tokyo, New York. Anywhere you've dreamed of. The money is enough to start over. Rent a studio. Focus on your art. Live the life you were supposed to have before. Before you saved me?" His jaw tightens. "Before I complicated things." Aaliyah sets the envelope down, her heart hammering. "You think you complicated things?" "I know I did." Jun Hyuk runs a hand through his hair, and the gesture is so uncharacteristically uncertain that it breaks her heart a little. "You went from one man controlling your life to another. Different circumstances, yes. But still, I took your choices away the moment I carried you out of that apartment. You gave me choices back." She moves closer and he tracks her movement like he always does. Hyper-aware, protective. "You gave me a studio. Time. Safety. You asked my permission before handling Andre. You've never once told me what to do or who to be. Because I'm trying not to be like him." "You're nothing like him." The words come out fierce. "Andre hurt me because it made him feel powerful. Her voice cracks. "You see me. Actually see me. And you're terrified that you might be taking advantage of that." Jun Hyuk's control fractures. "Of course I'm terrified. You matter to me, Aaliyah. More than anything in my entire goddamn life. And I won't be another cage for you. Even if it means letting you go." The studio falls silent except for the sound of their breathing. Aaliyah picks up the envelope and she watches something die in his eyes. Acceptance. Resignation. Like he'd been preparing for this moment since he first brought her here. She walks to the window, looks out at the gardens she's painted a dozen times, the fountain that sounds like peace, the life she's built in this beautiful prison that doesn't feel like a prison at all. Then she turns back to him and tears the plane ticket in half. "I don't want to run anymore," she says quietly. "I've been running my whole life. Running from poverty, from Andre, from every hard thing that ever tried to break me. And I'm tired, Jun Hyuk. I'm so tired of running." His expression shifts, hope and disbelief warring across his face. "I want to stay. Here. With you." She closes the distance between them, places her hand over his heart. "Not because I'm trapped. Not because I owe you. But because when I imagine my future, my real future, the one I actually want, you're in it. This is in it. Aaliyah. I love you." The words tumble out, terrifying and true. "I don't know when it happened. Maybe when you first saw my bruise and refused to look away. Maybe when you gave me this studio. Maybe yesterday when you brought me coffee while I was painting and just sat quietly so I could work. But I love you and I'm choosing to stay." Jun Hyuk's hands frame her face and his eyes are suspiciously bright. "You're sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything." He kisses her then, deep and desperate and full of relief. When they break apart, he's smiling. Actually smiling. She's not sure she's ever seen him smile before. "I love you too," he murmurs against her lips. "My light. My reason." And Aaliyah finally understands that freedom isn't about where you go. It's about choosing who you become when you get there. The gallery opens on a Saturday in spring, and Aaliyah can't stop her hands from shaking. Not from fear. Not anymore. From anticipation. From the surreal reality that her name is printed on elegant cards, that her art hangs on pristine white walls, that people, actual people with money and taste and influence, are gathering to see her work. Breathe. Jun Hyuk's hand finds the small of her back, grounding her. He's devastating in a charcoal suit, hair perfectly styled, every inch the powerful man he is. But when he looks at her, his eyes are soft. Proud. They're going to love it. You're biased. I'm right. He turns her to face him, adjusts the collar of her black dress. Silk, designer, chosen because it makes her feel like the artist she's always wanted to be. You ready? Aaliyah looks past him at the gallery. 16 paintings. Each one a piece of her journey. The dark, violent abstracts from her time with Andre. The tentative, healing landscapes from her first weeks at the estate. And the centerpiece, Jun Hyuk's portrait, the one she started that afternoon in her studio, finished over months of learning to see him completely. She titled it The Dragon's Heart. I'm ready. The doors open and Seoul's elite flood in. Art collectors, critics, socialites, and mixed among them, moving like shadows in expensive clothes, Jun Hyuk's people. She recognizes Min, his second-in-command, examining a painting with genuine interest. Mrs. Chin dressed elegantly, beaming with pride. Even some of his business associates, men whose names she's learned not to ask about, studying her work with careful respect. Two worlds colliding. Her art and his empire. And somehow, impossibly, it works. A woman in her 60s approaches the portrait of Jun Hyuk, champagne glass in hand. She stares at it for a long moment, then turns to Aaliyah. You captured something remarkable here. Most people paint Seo Jun Hyuk as either a monster or a myth. But you painted him as a man. That's what he is, Aaliyah says quietly. The woman smiles knowingly. Yes, I suppose he is. To you. The evening blurs into a dream. Red dots appear next to paintings sold. Critics ask thoughtful questions about her technique, her inspiration, her vision. A journalist from a major art magazine requests an interview. And through it all, Jun Hyuk stays close. Not hovering. Not controlling. Just present. A steady anchor in the chaos. At one point, she overhears a conversation near the bar. That's her, isn't it? The barista. I heard he cleared out an entire cafe for her. Had her boyfriend dealt with? More than dealt with. Word is the guy fled the country. Well, can you blame Seo? Look at her. Look at this work. She's extraordinary. Aaliyah waits for the old shame to surface. The humiliation of being defined by her trauma, by the man who saved her. But it doesn't come. Because she's not that terrified girl anymore. She's not a victim or a possession or a project. She's Aaliyah Brooks. Artist. Survivor. Woman who chose her own fate. As the night winds down, Jun Hyuk finds her standing in front of her favorite piece. An abstract called Rebirth, that's all gold light breaking through darkness. 12 paintings sold, he murmurs, sliding his arms around her waist from behind. The gallery owner says you're the most successful opening they've had in 5 years. Aaliyah leans back into him, lets herself feel the solid warmth of his chest. I couldn't have done this without you. Yes, you could have. His lips brush her temple. You would have found your way eventually. I just made sure you had the space to fly. She turns in his arms and the gallery fades away. The remaining guests, the white walls, the careful curation of her pain and triumph. All she sees is him. The man who saw her bruise and refused to look away. Who gave her a studio and her freedom. Who loves her not despite her scars, but because of the strength it took to survive them. Thank you, she whispers. For seeing me. Always. Jun Hyuk's hand cradles her face. My queen. My light. My home. He kisses her there in the gallery full of her art, and Aaliyah finally understands that happy endings aren't about being rescued. They're about learning to save yourself. And choosing someone who helps you remember you always had the strength to do it. Outside, Seoul glitters in the darkness. Inside, the dragon and his artist build a life worth painting.